Are you designing the life you want, or are you just letting it happen to you? A Sit at the Table with me, Janice Matui, is where we turn career and leadership insights into real actionable strategies. From relationship building and personal branding to career sponsorship and navigating change, we cover what it takes to stay ahead. Let's dive in.
Hi, I'm Sui, and I am taking over a seat at the table. Over the past decades, I have sat with many leaders across this country. I have sat with movers and shakers in the business and in the corporate world. And today I want to share a few lessons I've learned from interacting with these people. Some are lessons I've learned by having them on my podcast, which is a growth podcast, where we sit down with different people across different fields to share their stories of how they have grown, so that people like myself and yourself watching this can learn something and apply it in our own lives. Most of these people, first of all, are people just like you and me, living lives just like yours and mine. But the difference is that they get where they are today because they are intentional about every decision that they make. They are where they are not by mistake, but by design. These are leaders who faced difficult odds. Others wasn't so difficult. But at the end of the day, they are where they are because they made conscious decisions about where they went to school. Why did they study the program that they did? Why did they do their masters? Why that masters? Where did they do their masters from? They were deliberate because they knew that these decisions would feed into their future. One lesson I remember learning is about how you deal with a workplace where you are passed over for promotion. For many people, that can be a turning point in their career. Others feel it's time for them to leave that organization because they don't value me. I sat down with a CEO of one of the leading banks in Zambia, and she admitted how she had experienced being passed over for promotion multiple times. But what she said was what helped her was that she looked at the person that got the job and addressed the idea or the fact that she wanted that job, and they got that out of the way. And she said that the reason why that's important is because when you don't address that, the person that takes that job knows you are gunning for that job. And if they're insecure, they will always look at you as a threat. And that can damage your working relationship. So that's a very important lesson I learned. But then also, it taught me the lesson of talking things with people in the workplace. When you have issues, when you have an underlying problem, do you bottle it or do you speak out? That for me was a valuable lesson. There was one time I had a conversation with Ade. Ade is a Nigerian that has been living in Zambia, and he came on the podcast and talked about how Zambia is different from Nigeria, how the attitude of Nigerians is what has taken them across the world and their success stories. He told me how you can have 4 degrees and 3 masters in Nigeria and still struggle to find employment. And he said that in Zambia, people do not have the aggression Nigerians have because of the population. But he said that we are slowly getting there. The knowledge that we're getting there for me was very important because it now makes me ask myself, how do I position myself for a time when Zambia will be as competitive or even half competitive as Nigerians are? And he said something very important that stuck with me. He said in their country, there is no middle ground. There is no lying on the fence. He said in Nigeria, you are at the extreme. If you are good at something, you are at the extreme end of excellence. Absolutely good. You can't afford to be almost good, just as good. You have to be very good. The same applies if you're going to do the wrong thing. You must make sure you do the wrong thing very well. There's no middle ground. So that for me is a question of everything that I do today. If I'm going to stand behind a camera and make videos, are the videos I'm making the best videos that can ever be made? Or am I just doing the bare minimum? If my boss asks me to write a report, is that the best report that's ever been written? Or I'm just doing that because I want to tick off a KPI? That for me was very important because if I'm going to do it at the extreme level of excellence, I am giving it everything. At that particular point, I'm just doing it for my boss. You take the credit, it's fine. But my value is I either do something to the best of my ability or not at all. The other thing I've learned from having these interactions with people is that time is money. Time really is money. We all have 24 hours. And yet in those 24 hours, others can yawn and say, today is boring. Is that you? The thing I've learned is that people are very deliberate about what time they wake up. I was talking to someone who was saying, look, you can't be waking up at 9 hours and believe that you are going to change the world. That's a lie. If you're running a business, people think that's your escape to have long nights and you watch TV shows because you're an entrepreneur. There are entrepreneurs who wake up at 4 in the morning and go to bed at midnight. And they've got no one to call them out. Do you have that level of discipline? Because mostly we are disciplined because there's someone who's watching. You show up for work at 8 because you know when you reach 8:05, your boss will call you. So there's someone holding you accountable. But what do you do when you are your own accountability partner? You hold yourself accountable. That is the highest level of accountability. Those are but just a few of the many lessons I've learned from interacting with these people. So your homework is, what lessons are you learning from your interactions? If you don't have people in your life that you can learn lessons from, are you deliberate to go out and look for those people and tap into their wisdom? Find someone that you know and that you respect and let them then introduce you to other people. You are only as good as your network, and you only go as far as you expose yourself. You can't be comfortable with your same circle because you keep learning the same things over and over again. And when you look back at your years, there's absolutely zero growth. So the next time you get a chance, go out there and network. And do not just network with people at your level. Find those above you, find those below you. Expand your horizon, and there will be no limits to the things you can do.